guys, this is Greg at Underground Graphics. Today I got lucky and I got a 4-door Bronco in. We're going to be doing a wet install on this one. This came in from one of our friends. It was just PPF'd. We're going to put that stripe kit on it, then they're going to go back, they're going to ceramic coat it. We got one side already on, but again, I wanted to take that chance to show you what that wet install is like. We don't typically do wet installs here. We cut everything with wrap film. So everything is a dry install that we send out. I'm going to show you why. We're going to talk about it. Again, the kit itself is fantastic. High quality. I believe it was Avery 950, so up to a 9-year life on that kit. They're both cast vinyl, the wet versus the dry. We use the 3M 2080 series. And again, I'll kind of get into some more detail. What I'm going to do is show you install 1 or 2 panels on each. If you want to come over here, I'll go ahead and show you what we've done earlier today. And again, these kits are fine. This was a perfectly cut kit. We had to trim it down once it came in. Everything lined up great. It just takes a lot longer to put on. Typically with the wet install, we would recommend a professional installation. They are a little more difficult to do at home for the do-it-yourselfer. Again, we've tried to make everything that we do that sends out as easy as possible. So again, we want to get you that dry kit. So let's come over here and I'll kind of show you. This is what we're going to install here shortly. This is our dry kit. This is going to be the same kit. This is the kit that came to us. Again, it's great vinyl, but we did have to cut this down, cut each piece to fit. I'm still getting a little left done on here. The material we're talking about, the dry material, you're gonna look for that 3M wrap film 2080 series. Again, we're gonna use Avery, we use 3M, we use Oracal. What that means is, if you can hear that, there's slits in that backing paper. It's actually in the adhesive. There's channels in that adhesive. So when you lay that down on something smooth and you squeegee that out, it's got room for that air to go out. On the wet install pieces, these are totally smooth. And again, this is, I believe this is a 950 cast film. This is going to get you up to 9 years. It's smooth. I mean, that means it's got to be on there, and that's why it's supposed to install wet. You want to get that in position, get all that moisture out of there, get all that that solution. There is a very specific soap and water solution to that. Anyway, we'll take a pause and we will get some tape up on the vehicle. We're going to wipe those vehicles down with our water alcohol mix, make sure there's nothing left on them. We're going to get we want to get the cleanest surface we can to get these kits installed. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this kit started. First thing we're going to do is get everything lined up into position. Again, I like to tape everything off. We're going to use plenty of masking tape on this. During that break, I did go back and it looks like this kit may actually be calendared. I really cannot tell. It's hard to see without pulling that film off. Either way, again, it's still going to be same install. Cast films are a little bit thinner, a little harder to work with versus the calendared. Most calendared films are going to be less, just a couple of years less. One thing I did not go over was the life of the wrap film. 3M typically gives us, and again, the top, what I consider the top tier names, Avery, Oracal, 3M, gives us 1 year horizontal. That's that hood, roof, trunk. That's here in Houston. Every zone is going to be a little bit different. If you're up north, you're going to be a little bit more. The sun is the enemy on this. We usually see 2 to 3 is the life of that on the hood, roof, trunk. On the sides of the vehicle, 3 to 5. So again, it's a little bit less than you're going to get with that 951 series or 950, where you're getting almost that 9 years out of that wet install with a cast film. But again, it's, wrap film is what I go with. There's a reason. It's easy to install. Typically, we are going to get, this is going to be our back piece. Again, I'm just going to kind of get this into position so you can kind of see how this is going to go. With those wrap films, again, we typically get some good life out of that. I figure if it's good enough for a wrap, again, if it needs to be replaced, you can replace it. We get a lot of kits in that do come in. That's an odd, a lot of length on that one left over. If a kit comes to us and it's a wet install and we don't know where it's from, Etsy, eBay, very hesitant to install that kit. Most cases we would install, the cost to install that kit, we could almost, and we do many times, just cut one of our own kits. The time to install this is going to be probably about 3 to 4 hours, up to, versus that dry kit could be hour to hour and a half. The difference in labor makes up for in the cost of the kit. That's why. And this is why you test fit these pieces first. And again, we cut these down. I believe they had this as all right side, all left side. The handles are a nice cutout, so you know where those are going to go. And of course, you're not cutting those out yourself. Yeah, that's more like it. So this kit, again, very similar to ours. We're going to have a little bit of overhang on these edges so we can roll those in. The thing I want to do first, again, is make sure that this is all even. I like to tape these up. We'll walk to the back of the vehicle, kind of look down the edge and make sure this looks straight. Need more tape. And again, this was just recently PPF'd, so honestly, it does make this a little bit easier. I think you'll still get the idea, though. It'll still make my point on that wet versus dry. I'm going to skip this front piece on mine because I'm not going to take off that Bronco badge. This one, customer did supply us with the Bronco Depot badges, and we're going to put those on for him. They'll be a little bit lower than they're supposed to be to work with this kit. But again, nothing is ever set. Everything is custom. Looks like we could actually use to trim off a little of this. So again, these installs, this side will have no water. It's going to measure on, apply similarly, but you'll see when we get started what the holdup is going to be with that wet install. Typically, you got to wait for that solution to dry a bit before you can peel off the mask. Otherwise, you're going to pull up that film right away. Whereas with the dry, it really is peel and stick. And we follow this line on the body. And you can adjust this wherever you want, really. Let me go a little further back. As we look down that edge, that's where we want to look to see if there's any kinks in that, if that's dipping or going up. I think that looks pretty good from here. Let me step back in your way and see if that, I think that one looks good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start this door panel. We'll go work on my door panel. We'll go back and forth and we can see what this is like. So again, talking about that solution, I believe the common is Dawn soap is what people like to use. A few drops with basically like a 1 gallon mix of water. It's a lot of water, less dish soap. There'll be instructions provided usually with those wet install kits. We have our own solution that we get from our supplier called the Rapid Tack, which is a little faster evaporating. It gives us the same purpose. And you want to be careful on that backing paper. You don't want that backing paper to get too wet. So we like to use that line up there. And then we're going to spray that top again. And you want to go up and down with this. And again, this has been freshly PPF, so good news is I can be a little more aggressive with this PPF, with this door. And again, I've got my mark for this next one here. So I'm going to leave that there just for a minute. Make sure this is that part there, is that starting to get wet? I'm going to be real careful that that doesn't flake apart. Same thing here. alcohol. There we go. So let's go back. This is driving me nuts, just so you know. Now what you could be careful with taking this off is taking off this mask. If we lift up on that because we did this wet, that stripe's gonna wanna come up. So we need to wait a little bit, let that solution evaporate a bit, and then we can go back, take that off, spray it down again, and work out any bubbles that may still be in there. As a last resort, you wanna go back, you can use a sharp pinhole to get off those little small ones. But again, I can't move on to the next door until this is set. I can actually skip, move on to that last panel, but I'm gonna go ahead and shoot over to the dry install. All right, so over here, same thing. We've already done our alcohol wipe. We've already got clean. Already got this in place where I want it. I'm gonna break apart, make a little mark there. You want to make sure your hands are clean. Otherwise, anything that may be on your fingertip will get on the back of that. Once you touch the edge, this is gonna wrap around. But I'm gonna place that right there. And again, we want to pull kind of taut with this. You can actually go ahead and lay that one down. Keep that as straight as we can. And again, I've got the line up from my front. Now what we can do here, let's go back and check and see if this is ready to peel off. Man, we gotta be so careful with that. See, it's still, I'm gonna let that sit a little bit longer. Oh, it's only been a few minutes. That's still very wet under there. All right, so let's come back over here. We got a couple of choices here. We could actually roll that back. I'm gonna go ahead and cut on the inside edge of that and then roll that excess right into that fender. Next time you open the door, warm that up a little bit, make sure we get that a good tuck on the inside edge of that. Back here, same thing. We can cut a little bit extra. We can kind of loosen that, open the door, roll it further in, but I'm just gonna cut right along that inside edge. With your blade, we're gonna cut where the blade is kind of facing away from the body. Again, the tip of that blade, or the sharp part, the bottom, the blade, is facing away from that. So I'm using that top edge just to glide down the outer, this body panel. So that gives me about 1/4 of an inch, which is really all I need to tuck that. And again, this is dry, so we're just gonna tuck that in a little bit. And again, next time you open that door, you can roll that in. This side, we already pulled that off. Already cut that. So we got 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you're starting to see a pattern here, but as we're moving along on this one, we're still waiting for that other one to dry so we can keep moving on that side. Again, what we're not showing you on here is kind of the prep, the clay. We like to clay these cars before we get started. Now with the wrap film, you want to go back and post heat. That magic number is typically about 180 degrees. Now on these flat surfaces, you don't have to get crazy with that. You do want to make sure that we've got all of the adhesive crushed onto there, so it's getting the best bond that it can get. With that wet install, this just got to naturally evaporate. Force that heat on that water, and it's going to make things a lot more difficult. Now on this one, again, you have an option. We can open this up. We can tuck that into that door. Again, I'm just showing you this to demonstrate, so this really isn't staying on my vehicle. Some people like to have third decal stop at the edge of the door. We do like to tuck, kind of get that around that edge. Just depends on the car, depends on the stripe. Anytime you'll have any questions on any of this, I'd love to talk graphics, so feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. Ready to go check on that wet kit? All right, looks like we got a little bit of progress here. Just gonna be real careful pulling this back. And again, if it starts to dry out, you can wet this. And it does make that easier to remove. So these wet kits will usually always come with a paper mask. We provide a different kind of mask with our dry kits, although paper can work as well. Our mask actually conforms with the curves with that air release vinyl. So this has got some tack on it now, but you can still see there's a couple little spots, and it's probably from where it was rolled up, that tunneling in there, up here at the top of that stripe. Once this is, again, once all this water has evaporated, we can let that come back down. But again, I think you're seeing the idea of what I'm talking about here. This is still real wet, so while I can tuck that in or I can trim it, it's not gonna stick real well right now. You're gonna have to wait for this to really evaporate to get a good tack. It's gonna take some time. You know, we can go back over. Looks like I've got a little bit of tack right there. So same thing. And guys, I can't stress enough, there's nothing wrong with the wet kit. It's just what you prefer. That's still, and you do not want to let that pinstripe get lost on you. You'll never get that back straight. I feel like you got to be so delicate with this kit. Again, it's going to take some time for that to really set and get a good bond. But at least with this, we can get that on there, and then I can come back. I can keep going. Move on to the next piece. Guys, I think you got the idea on this. I don't want to install both kits for the whole video, but I just wanted to make a point and kind of show those differences. Again, we prefer the dry, not to say that the wet kit is by any means bad. We do encourage you to reach out to wherever you're getting that kit from. We have a lot of fear with Etsy and eBay, just because that you don't know where that's coming from, who's doing it, who's cutting it, what film they're using. There's some good stuff out there. So, you know, and again, I don't want to take over the world with graphics, but I do want to educate. You guys have any questions on any of that, and just, you know, have a question, hey, is this a good kit? What, you know, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Thanks again for watching. like, comment, subscribe. Any questions? I'm sure I missed something. If I did, put it in the comments. I'll get back to that. And yeah, see you next time.